Welcome, everybody. Thanks for coming today to this wonderful event to hear these really great professionals come and share with you their education and life experience. This is such a great opportunity for each one of you to get to know these individuals, ask them questions, find out what they do, and hopefully it'll have some kind of an impact on your career choices. My name is Gianna Mori. I work in the career department here at Santa Barbara City College. And if you haven't been to the Career Center before, all of you are invited to come anytime. It's drop-in. We can help you with career choices, major choices, getting a job, getting an internship, etc. Today, we're going to spend a little bit of time hearing about academic programs as well, in case you have an interest in studying in this area and completing a degree or transferring or just going right into the profession related to media arts and business, marketing, and social media. Today I'm going to have Professor Gallegos and Alejandra Jaraba talk a little bit about the program. And Alejandra, are you going to speak?
Yes.
Okay. Do you need the mic?
I'll take your mic.
Okay, come on over here. So Alejandra will talk a little bit about that. Then after she's finished, we'll have some presentations by the panelists. I'll have some questions for them. Well, I guess you do know what they are, but I don't think they've planned very much, and maybe I'll throw in a surprise one or two. And then they'll have some presentations as well. And please store up some of your questions because we're going to have some Q&A. Also, we have one panelist here who is our mystery panelist, I'm calling him, because he cannot be on the live stream. He works for a corporation and he cannot represent the corporation on film because this actually gets filmed too, and this will be on our YouTube channel at some point. So if you have friends that missed this event, you can also direct them to the Career Center website where we have this video, and then we have other ones as well of different professions. And we'll bring my friend John up in a little bit at the end, and he'll have his own presentation and Q&A, but we won't be filming that. Okay? So with that, let's go ahead and start this.
Hi, my name is Alejandra Jarabo, and I am the co-chair of the multimedia department. It's called MAT, Multimedia Arts of Technology. We work with all types of media. My other co-chair is Michael Gallegos, that is here, and for now he's going to be controlling the computer, but we will maybe take turns. And what we want to do is introduce you guys to our program, our specific program in media arts. In the department, we have two programs. One is in animation and gaming, and the other one is called in media arts. And we work in digital production. We produce graphics, interactivity, and interactivity applied to maybe prototypes for games or for interactive pieces. Web design, social media, app design, so all the realm of really the production that you're going to get in media nowadays. And in that sense, we are related to marketing because we are the ones that take charge of the production of the materials that a marketing campaign, for the most part, is going to get. Our students get a foundation in graphics in programs like Photoshop, Illustrator. We get web design, beginning web design, intermediate web design. We get interface design. That is also another very important element that people tend to not take the amount of respect and dedication that it needs. Interface is actually the core of interactivity. We were talking, Michael and me, before that some 7-8 years ago, we had a lot of students interested in learning how to produce an interface. And now, because we're all surrounded by interface everywhere, there doesn't seem to be that strong interest of understanding how do you organize information in an interactive way, what are the possible different ways. And actually, it's very important for whatever you're going to be doing later in this field, to be able to understand the principles of interactivity from an aesthetic view, how does an interface work, from a psychological view, how do people use interfaces, and from a technical view, how do you basically program an interface. So in our department, we also do introduction to coding. And I think that that's a very interesting point. Because if you are going to be an engineer, then you will take straight ahead classes in computer science. But we have a figure of people that are web developers or people that are going to be working in production. The moment that you're a web designer that is touching code, you're going to have one foot on coding. And we teach coding for people that not necessarily have a foundation in math and in science. We teach HTML, we teach CSS, we do a little bit of JavaScript, we do action scripting, that is a sister language of JavaScript, and then students begin finding their preferred coding languages, and in many cases our students take classes later in computer science. Maybe they work with Java in computer science, or they take object-oriented programming, and we do all that in classes that are for beginners. And our other advantage is that we're constantly working with graphics. So when you're working in coding, you're going to have the reward of seeing what is the effect of your coding immediately. We work a little bit with sound also in some of our classes, and we work especially in integration, integrating all types of different media and all types of different elements in order to produce something that is digital media, that is media that is working online. And we have here the website for the multimedia department. We call it Media Arts. And we have here listed some of the jobs that you can get to if you follow. You have, in the area of web design, the area of user experience. That is an area that is really well paid nowadays. User experience, to say it in a nutshell, would be how do you create an environment so the user can go through the content in an easy and intuitive way, and flow with that content in a way that conduces the purpose of that content. We also do some prototyping in media arts. We do directly interface design, and we do, there's a phone that is constantly there ringing. Can we turn it off? An alarm. Yes, an alarm. In web design, we do also important work. And in the area of social media, what we do is we help people that are going to be working, maintaining sites or managing social media for companies. And we help them be able to create much of that material that they're going to need to work in social media. So they can, retouch images, compress images, work with typography, with online typography. So what we're doing is facilitating the job for people that might want to do social media. We also have one theory class in the department where we're bridging a little bit with communications and with marketing, and we're talking about social issues and psychological issues that are related to the use of media. So I think that we have like an interesting package. Now, alumni. Our alumni from this department have gone, as diverse places as the department, as the classes in the department offer. We have people that have become interactive designers. We have graphic designers that have specialized in online technologies and that have become later good interactive designers. We have one Swedish student that did graphic design and multimedia with us that is now an art director of an interactive company in Sweden. We have people that are coming from the Center of Entrepreneurship that maybe want to put together a business idea, and they want to be able to launch that first prototype of their idea. And if you can work with your own media, that's a lot of money that you're saving. We have several people that are working in web design and that are working with coding in different platforms. And And we have also people that are working in gaming. Some of them came to the previous movie that we had, and that they're actually working as asset making and interactive designers in gaming companies. You want to? Okay. Pass it to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
If you have any questions about the academic side, you know who to talk to afterwards. One of these instructors would be more than happy to connect with you. With that, let's introduce our panelists. To the very left, Will, would you say your last name for me, please? Ferrer. Will Ferrer. He's the founder of a company called Tempest House. They do quality, rapid, scalable app development, specializes in web app mobile developers, DevOps, QA, project managers, UI, UX designers, graphic designers, product designers. And he's an SBCC alum. Next to him is Brock Odell, web and media specialist with the Santa Barbara Museum of Art. He's been working for the museum for about 4 years now, a little bit more actually. And he also is an alum, and when he was here at CC, he worked on campus doing some design work I saw on your LinkedIn account. Preston Schwant, next to Brock there, is a digital marketing specialist. He's an entrepreneur galore. He is a self-ascribed Instagram influencer. He brought a product today that he designed, I'm assuming, or a company that you work for that's pretty cool. And he co-founded a company in San Luis Obispo. If any of you are entrepreneurs at heart, he'd be a great one to connect with. He also is an SBCC alum. Last but not least, we have Amber Wallace, who's the president and CEO of her own company called Dowager Designs. It's an integrated marketing agency providing strategic marketing, design, and technology services to both large and small organizations. She is a UCSB grad, has her BA from there, as well as her creative studies degree. And then we'll introduce John Reed later, and we'll get into details about John's background when we get to the end here. For now, I was hoping that a couple of them could share with you maybe some of their websites and some of their work. And Brock, I think I'd like to start with you. So if you would like to come up here to the computer. I've got your website up if you want to take a look and show some of your work and get that ready. While he's doing that, maybe some of you that are going to be answering questions can think about this one. This one came from Alejandra. Technology changes quickly. What have you worked with? What technology have you worked with, and what technology are you learning now? So we'll be asking that question when Brock is through showing his stuff there. Here you go.
Hi, everybody. So, I mean, not too much to go into, but in essential, I design and maintain everything you see here. I brought up the video library because I thought it was a pretty proud point of my work where I started working with the YouTube API. You pull it from JavaScript libraries, and you pull from YouTube, and you can essentially place it onto anywhere on the web so long as you have all the proper things for it. It's a fairly simple structure, but you have to work within this infrastructure called Drupal, which is, I mean, it's a good layout. It's good. Essentially, what you do behind the scenes is a lot of JavaScript on my end, a lot of jQuery. jQuery is still one of my favorite ways to animate in code and things. Yeah, essentially, it's just the whole of the website, worked by me. Most of this is just front-end, small media tools, things like that you just input images and text, but then there's other pages where you can get a little bit more creative and essentially create your own custom HTML pages. For example, something like, okay. Like, where is it? Let's find it here. archives. Like, so, for example, I mean, this is all custom stuff that I've pulled from externally on the web, so you can link specific things. It's all simple layouts and things. This is mostly for archival purposes. You know, brings you to PDFs of like the history of the website. Yeah, that's essentially most of the work I do. Everything else that I do is mostly contained within SBMA, where I, you know, do minor IT things, but I also create interactive experiences for the exhibitions, which are, there will be one on display this weekend and then another one following a week from then, but if there's any questions.
Brock, how did you get your job at the museum?
Oh, how to get it? I mean, it was essentially through my boss was in a bit of a pinch. His previous web designer had left, surprisingly, and he had a kid to raise within a couple days. He contacted Alejandra, which then threw it over to me. But essentially, I got a 4-day crash course on our old website, which was a lot to take in. It was all custom HTML coding within like this homegrown website setup, which was a content management system that my boss made. And within 4 days, I had to do everything. And he was gone for a month after that. So after that month, I felt fairly confident with the rest of it, but it was definitely a crash course.
Thank you for that. Go ahead and have a seat there. I'm going to join you over here as I ask questions. Let's start with Amber, and go ahead and answer that question that I was asking about the technology that you've used and that what you currently have used in the past and what you're using now.
So for us, we're a full-service marketing company, so we're doing a little bit of a lot of different things. I am definitely a fan of always learning, right? No matter what area you're in for any of us, it's constantly evolving. You know, you're talking about Drupal and jQuery, we were talking about social media, what platforms you're going to be using, what languages are you going to be using. So for us, depending on who we're talking about on our team, there's a lot of different things going on at any one time. But we're always looking at, you know, what's the latest. So even say, look at web development, content management systems. You know, WordPress had the Gutenberg editor rollout. What does that look like? What does that mean for existing sites? How are we going to leverage that in the future? Where is that going? You know, we were just talking about Drupal having a big security issue in the past week. And, you know, what does that mean? What things do we need to have in place for that? So I think I'm a fan more of keeping learning at all times and being excited about that than even what the specific piece might be.
Preston?
Yeah, pretty similar response. You know, always keep learning, especially as an entrepreneur. You're always learning new things, always, you know, exploring darkness per se. You know, Instagram is my main background and forte. That being said, you know, I recently especially have been branching out into cryptocurrency investing. Just got a VR Oculus Rift and kind of just exploring those new spaces.
Thank you. Oh, you already answered. Well, did you? Did your technology that you have used and what you are learning now, is there anything new and different?
I mean, yeah, similar to what both of them have said, you know, technology is constantly increasing, and it is now more exponential than ever before. You have to teach yourself as much as you can. I mean, after getting this job, I ended up teaching myself JavaScript, the full front of JavaScript from front to back as much as I could. Surprisingly, not too much math involved until the very, very further later stages. So that part scares a lot of people, and it's not the case always. You just have to kind of use a logical brain. But technology in general, I mean, I work, as I said, interactives. Interface Composer is this program that we use. You need a little bit of programming, but it's more like a Photoshop laid out experience manager. You can set up art assets, you can set up text, you can set up interactive portions for a touchscreen and then export it via the web on the clouds, in cloud. So it's, yeah, that's some of the stuff I've used.
Thank you. Will?
Well, I've kind of been doing this since I was 10 years old, so I've touched a lot of different technologies. When I was working here, we were doing all Adobe and Macromedia stuff at the time, and that was my main focus for a long time. I had a fantastic time with that. But then after kind of moving on into the private sector, got more into web technologies, things that are JavaScript-based, PHP-based, and then just moving on from there, kind of touched just about every web technology at this point. For what I'm learning recently, we've had some projects that involve machine learning, so I've been getting more familiar with that. It's a really cool field, and it's really an emerging field, so I recommend it if you guys are looking to learn some new technologies. And my aspiration is to someday learn Unity and make video games, but I don't have the time. Hoping to get back to that at some point. And then, beyond me, we have a team of about 37 people at this point in our company. So if there's anything I don't know, we've got someone that knows it. So I may not be able to answer every technology, but I know someone that can.
Awesome. Amber, could you talk a little bit about your company? You said you've been in your company for about 15 years or so, and
Yeah.
yeah, and I'd love to hear how you named your company.
So our name is Dowager Designs, which you said perfectly. We're full-service marketing. I started it 13 years ago, I think. I was doing the math because we were talking about that earlier. The name, actually, a Dowager is a shorebird that migrates through Santa Barbara. So when you go to the beach, the different birds you see, that is one of them oftentimes. So our logo is also that. And I didn't follow any of the entrepreneur rules there, where you're supposed to name it something that's really easy to remember, easy to spell, easy when you give the domain name out. I broke all of them, but so far so good.
Hasn't slowed down your success.
Yeah, so far so good.
What would you say was a typical day for you? And we'll start with you, Amber, and we'll work our way down.
So for me, I get to be in the boss role, which is really awesome, and also means that the day can be a little hectic and varied every day. So I'm often in a lot of meetings, might be pulled into phone calls, meeting with our team, meeting with a handful of clients, working on internal business strategy, what should we be doing, why, and then some business development. Most of the specific tasks that are being done are done by our team, kind of similar. I probably have a subject matter expert who can do it, and at this stage, hopefully even knows it better than I do. So I get to enjoy doing that, but I really enjoy it because the days are varied. I like a variety, and I like a little bit of a challenge, so it's fun for me.
Thank you. How about you, Preston?
My days vary quite a bit too. I shift a lot of gears. Part of entrepreneurship is you have a lot of freedom to kind of build your day how you want, or how you can. So that being said, some days I'll wake up and work from bed for the first 5 hours of the day. Some days I'll wake up and immediately go to the gym and come back and then spend the rest of the day working. It's kind of up to me. But regardless, I'm going to spend, 4 hours a day working on client work, probably a couple hours reading and a couple hours researching, managing my investments. That's pretty much it.
Is this a good time to share what you brought with you?
Yeah, this is the plate scrape. This is one of my clients. Really cool product. It's actually just a bucket and brushes. And simple, but really high quality, American made, and it's great for cleaning dishes. Any dishes you would want to clean. Caterers, hotels, restaurants, hotels, hostels, hospices, you name it, any dishwashing. This is great for it. It saves a lot of water, which is great for California. So yeah, we actually have
show the inside and pull it out.
Yeah, there's big old heavy duty brushes in there.
And so that's one of your clients that you've done some work for, right?
Yeah. So I do lead generation for these guys on
does that
Instagram.
mean? Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
do you all know what lead generation is? Okay, you better share that.
I find people who might want to buy the plate scrape and redirect them to plate scrape. Yeah, it's all dishwasher safe. It's a great invention. We have a grant in Santa Clara. So yeah, perfect for California. Anything that saves water is always good.
That is part of your business marketing, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Yes. All right.
It helps.
Yeah, good for you. All right, Brock.
My typical day is more or less, it's It's sort of a 9 to 6. It's a 9 to 6 because hour lunch and all that. But I drive in from Ventura, and unfortunately, the main decision makers at our museum don't find remote access for IT to be a useful tool at the moment. However, the morning will consist of website updates, and often my job is very reactionary. Our curators are the main people in the museum, so whatever they want goes. If they want something the day of one of their exhibition starts, then I have to get to work on whatever it is they want, and most of the time, my day kind of goes through like that, exchanging emails between coworkers and myself, and it's lucky because I am one of 2 people on IT, and that is our whole team at the museum. So I do have some semblance of control of when I get things done because they understand that workload can get high. And then, through Friday, I do about the same thing. I mean, it's not the same thing at the museum, it's just the same beginning, I guess.
You have to get up and go to work, in other words.
I have to get up at a certain time. I can't sleep in, unfortunately.
Thank you. Will, what about you?
Really just doing too many things every day. It's not working, is it? Hold on. Is that working? Can you guys hear me? I think we got it. Okay. So I work a shifted schedule, actually, because we have both US-based people and people in other countries. So I'm usually at the computer by around 1 in the afternoon, and I'm usually working until about midnight or later. I wake up, I answer Slack messages, the most important emails, get out of bed, get ready for the rest of the day, and then it really will vary. These days, a lot of what I'm doing is interacting with clients, new clients, existing clients, setting their expectations, writing them statements of work for the propositions we're doing, helping bid out the projects, figure out how much they cost, hiring the new people, writing endless emails, and just kind of running every end of the business. And unfortunately, I get to work from home because we're an all-distributed team, and that's pretty much what my days look like right now.
Fantastic. Would you like to share anything on your website?
Sure,
right now?
sure.
Yeah? Okay, so
Yeah.
it should be up there somewhere.
All right, I'll mute
While
this.
while you're walking over there, we can see that Dowager Designs is a little creative and a little geeky. So, but yeah.
Especially your logo.
See if I can type with just one finger. There we go. So this is our company website. The main page here just kind of gives the main pitch about our company. The first thing you read is what makes us different. If you guys ever check it out, it's Tempest.house. Tempest is my middle name, so we just kind of use that in the name of the company. I won't go through each point individually, because that would take a bit long, but we kind of explain why we're different than other companies, the way that our model varies in a way that we think is better than other companies that we've worked with in the past, at least. Then we have a quick description of the things we do, kind of from a high level. Some of our favorite testimonials that some folks have written for us. I'm just going to go through it really quick so you guys don't get too bored with it. In the portfolio, we have some of the projects we've worked on. A lot of these are for previous companies that I've been CTO of. For instance, I was CTO of GGN. I'm currently CTO of Sweet Spot Motion. You can read about these there. You can also kind of see a bit of the history of what our people have done. We have a lot of experience in esports. I was CTO of 3 esports companies before this. So there's several esports projects in here, tournament platforms, things like that. Sweet Spot Motion is a company where we do lifestyle monitoring to help you prevent injury using machine learning. So we have devices you wear, it reads the movements that you do throughout the day, analyzes them, and tells you if you're doing something that's bad for you. It's kind of a cool company. Pretty proud of that one. And you can just keep going down. So there's current clients. Our creative director and my co-founder of the company, he worked for a pretty large Chinese gaming company, and he did all the work, the US side work for Age of Wushu, so we wanted to showcase Jet Li and that other stuff. I could keep going, but I'll just move on. Here's the team. You can see the lovely Carpinteria beach line behind me in my picture. And these are just the core members of the team. I've really been building this team for 15 years, and so a lot of the folks on here are people who have been in it for a long time. But if we listed the whole team, this page would just go on forever. So these are the folks that have been in it for a long time. Solutions, you can see a lot of the technologies we use. We actually need to update this. We don't have any of our CMS technologies now, which we now have quite a large CMS team. So we got to add some more things to it there. But if you're interested in what things we specialize in, this has a good list of them here. The About page is just a snippet about us. And, Tempest Tools. This is an open source project I made for rapid application development. It's based around Laravel and Doctrine. And it is a really nice way for our clients to just kind of get an application going quickly. We have a skeleton built in it that has all the features you kind of want with a bare bones application done already. So it's a nice option for our clients. Saves them some money. Just works already and is really fast and easy to work with. I think that's everything that's worth mentioning before it gets too boring. I'll give you back the mic.
Thanks, Will. That was great. For those of you who don't have a 9-to-5 job, and your job, you could do it 24/7, do you have recommendations for organizing your work and personal life when work is unpredictable? And you might throw in maybe some information about how you manage finances when work is unpredictable as well. Who would like to start? Don't all raise your hands at once.
I'll go.
Oh, it is? Well, tell us why.
Oh, there we go.
Okay. I'll turn on my microphone. Yeah, that's a tough one, as my wife can attest. Hi, honey. It's really difficult. No matter what level you're working at in the company, there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of pressure. If you're a developer, there's going to be deadlines and clients constantly changing the scope of the project, and then your managers trying to get you to do it. And those things can pop up anytime. You can just be having a nice day on the beach on the weekend, and suddenly you get a call that the server is down, and some code you wrote may have broken everything, and you have to run home and be like, oh my God. And then you get higher up as a manager, and then you're in the middle of that. You're between the clients and the top brass and the developers and managing that whole thing, which is also stressful and a lot of different responsibilities there. And then you get to the top and you find out it's not any better at the top. You're managing the relationship with the clients and the managers. And there's all that stress and pressure on you from all directions as well, and you still get called in on the weekends. If something goes wrong, you also have to be there to talk to the developers. So it's really, really hard. The only thing I ever do is that if we're having some time that needs to be a little more private, I'll let my wife have my phone so no one can contact me. She has it right now. And it's the hardest thing to work out. It is the biggest challenge, in my opinion, of this sort of profession, to try to balance your personal life and your professional life and not get too stressed while still doing a good job. Because the stress is also a good motivating factor. It makes you work really hard, but can also burn you out, and it can kind of turn you into a robot a little bit. If you get too used to coding, you just don't know how to talk to people anymore. One of the big advantages, there are many advantages of City College, but at least if you're here learning it, you'll remember to talk to people, you'll be working on your social skills, learning how to manage your expectations of essentially your teachers like your boss, so you learn how to interact with them. The other students are like your coworkers, so you learn how to interact with them. You actually are doing projects. So I guess I'm kind of veering off topic, but to me that's one of the best things you get from going to City College. You get a little bit of a taste for how this actually is in the real world, and you get to learn how to deal with it and learn those social skills that are just so necessary to be able to navigate that appropriately. And I don't know if that fully answers the question, but it answers the best I can.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks. Brock, do you have something to respond related to that, even though you're a 9-to-6er?
I'm a 9-to-6er, but I also do outside of.
Let's talk about that.
I do client work. So I mean, yeah, I tend to get obsessive in my work as well. It's understandable if you're passionate for something, you start working towards it, and you don't realize you didn't eat dinner, and it's midnight, and you have to get up at 6 the next day, and it just continues on like that. So
I did that last night.
exactly. So you have to take into account. I mean, it's helpful. Like your wife, my girlfriend tends to be like, "Oh, you haven't eaten yet. You should eat," and then she somehow blocks me from doing my work. I'm like, "But," and it continues like that, and you know, you can have support of family, and he's right about SBCC, though. That's where you learn to socialize and work out your problems instead of attempting to solve everything yourself, even though, as I've noticed as coders often do, you try to solve everything yourself without asking anyone. And that can get problematic, but if you can solve it by yourself, it's, you know, it's rewarding, but, you know, there are other people in the world, so.
Thank you so much. How about you, Preston?
As far as social life is concerned, yeah, you pretty much have to say goodbye to that if you're going to be an entrepreneur. I mean, not altogether, but you do have to, you know, limit that. You're prioritizing work if you choose this path, at least for the short to medium term. You know, that doesn't mean that you can't go out or go hang out with friends or anything, but it's going to be harder, you know. As far as finances are concerned, that can be hard. You know, especially with entrepreneurship, don't be afraid to have a regular job. You know, serve tables or bus tables, park cars, do something, you know, that will pay the bills, and then, you know, build your passion when you're not doing that. Yeah, that's about
great.
it.
Thanks. Amber, your perspective.
I like to think, you know, we all have 24 hours in a day, right? So it's how we decide to spend them. You mentioned priorities. You know, I think a lot about opportunity cost, right? You hear about that like in business school kind of stuff, but it's the same is true with time. If I'm spending, you know, an hour doing this thing, it means it's an hour I'm not doing something else. Is this thing the thing I want to be doing for that hour? And I think it is important to remember to put family and social life and all of that in the mix of priorities. I'm not going to pretend that I have that figured out. I definitely don't. But it is a work in progress. I am a believer in work-life integration versus balance. Most of the successful people I've spoken with do not have balance down either. So I feel better that, you know, there's the pro and con of being at the beach or wherever and getting that call, and sometimes that really sucks. And then other times it's like, well, hey, I can be at the beach and know that I'm still going to get the call if I need to be there instead of having to be tied to a certain location. I think finance, I'm privileged to be at a point where I don't need to worry about that as much anymore. But in the early years, you know, we kept costs really low, you know, so especially in a service-based business, you know, you don't have to have a lot of overhead, and then you can start being strategic when you start doing things like hiring and looking at, should that person be a W-2 employee or a 1099 contractor, and building out your team and your company. You have a lot more control over that if you've kind of managed things carefully in the early years.
So related to your comments there and some of the others here, those of you who are running your own businesses and hiring people, managing people, it's a completely different type of work. It's not like all of a sudden you woke up and you had 15 employees. How did you manage even having a successful business with the skill set that you have that might not have, you have your MBA, but you might not have necessarily had that kind of business background in the first place? You want to start with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, I feel like I did it kind of backwards. I started the business, worked in it for quite a while, and then decided to go get the MBA. I'm pretty sure you're supposed to go get the MBA and go the other way around. But, you know, again, kind of worked out, so I'm going to go with it. But for us, we were lucky. We had some good initial hires. We were careful in bringing people on board and had people who really had complementary skill sets to what we were looking to accomplish. And then we also got really lucky in being connected to SBCC and getting interns who we were able to offer jobs to, and being connected to UCSB and the communications department there, and being able to grow a team locally, then grew into different distributed teams, grew offices, all of that. But I think giving credit to it being an organic process in many cases, and knowing that most people, at least most entrepreneurs I've met, don't have it all figured out. And I think the ones who maybe act like they do might be fibbing just a little bit. So give yourself a little room to grow and learn, and I think ask questions. I mean, I know most of us up here probably would be happy to answer them.
I'm going to put a little plug in here for internships. Great idea to do internships if you need or want one. Your faculty are great resources, the Career Center as well. We have the Job Connection, which you can access through your Pipeline account, where jobs and internships are posted, or if you have a particular company you want to work with, that's where I can come in and you work with me. We look like we have a little birdie friend.
Yeah, we totally do.
Maybe it's related to the Dowager thing.
There we go. Of course, I'm a fan. So.
Preston, what about you?
For hiring.
Yeah.
So I don't have any employees right now.
Okay.
I'm a one-man show for the last few years. Early in my career, I had 2 employees. Both of them were contractors. And yeah, I think organically, you want it to happen organically. You want to be able to trust these people. And that's, part of the problem that I'm having right now is vetting potential hires. You have to be able to trust these people and trust that they can do what you need them to do. And there's a lot that goes into it. It's definitely not a simple process. Yeah.
All right, thanks. Brock, do you have something, I mean, you have your business, you're doing some your own work, right? Consulting or whatever.
Taking on employees of my own, though.
Okay.
I don't manage people.
You manage yourself, you're one.
I manage myself,
One-man
that's
show.
about it.
That can be hard enough,
Yeah,
depending
no,
on- I
that's
mean,
that's
yeah.
the reason that I don't have employees, I'm sure.
Okay, Will, your turn on that one.
All right. So for me, it happened a bit organically as well. Right after leaving here, I went to work in the private sector, and at my very first job, I made a good friend there, and he became the co-founder of the company now and my first team member. So I generally work for startups, and startups have the terrible problem they don't always last that long. So it's just been a string of startups for me. And every startup I'm at, though, I meet some great people, and they're really talented. And so I say, hey, you want to work with me at the next startup? And the team just kept growing and growing until you kind of see the page that I'd shown you earlier. Those are mostly people who just followed me from startup to startup. And then eventually, we got to a point where we had a pretty big team, and we had a bigger team than our current client needed. So we just started working for other clients, and that's actually how this company started. We had people and not enough work for them, so we found work for them. Then beyond that, as the company grew, I used the same techniques I've kind of honed over the years. Personally, I don't do job postings. I find that if you do a job posting, you spend a lot of time just getting all these resumes of people that aren't really qualified, might not write back to you, and you just spend a ton of time on it. So I actually use search engines. I used to use AngelList for that, but now that we have money, I use a LinkedIn search engine that costs quite a bit, but it lets you type in exactly what you want. Say, hey, I want people that have 8 years of experience, they have to know these technologies, these keywords, and it gives you just a list. Then you go through them, read the resumes, and I just send proposals to each one. That's the main way we hire now, and it's worked really well. We've gotten a lot of really good people that way. I also have a few friends who are recruiters that are just really good recruiters, and the people they've brought us have actually been just amazing. So that's the main way that we hire right now, if that helps.
Well, you're just speaking right to me. We are having a LinkedIn workshop.
Oh, nice.
Tomorrow we're having a LinkedIn workshop through the Career Center. So if you're interested in coming to that, let me know, or just show up. It will be in your email box, a reminder in the mornings in your pipeline email. With that, let's answer the question, what traits are important to have for the work that you do? What traits do you consider to be key to enjoying and being successful in your work? Amber.
I think for entrepreneurship, probably passion and persistence. You've got to really want it and be willing to go through the ups and downs of it, because there are going to be days that you think it's the most amazing thing ever, and there are going to be days where you go, why did I do this? And why do I keep doing it? And knowing that that's normal. I think liking a challenge is really a great thing, and finding something that you want to do.
Thank you. Kristen.
I would say self-sufficiency. You gotta be able to motivate yourself. No one's going to tell you what to do, when to do it, how to do it. You have to decide for yourself all of those things, teach yourself, identify what you should be doing, when you should be doing it. And that takes a lot of control. Not too many people, especially young people, have the forethought to consider those type of things. They're probably used to going from one thing to another and having their whole day laid out in front of them by someone else. And when you're working on your own for yourself, that's something that's very challenging, and definitely will help you out a lot. And facing adversity. As an entrepreneur, you're going to come up on problems all the time, and being able to work through that and solve them yourself is super important.
As someone not in technically an entrepreneurial position, it has a lot to do with socializing with other people. Being able to kind of decrypt how people speak in emails is a very, very useful one. But for the most part, if there's something, you have to say it, you have to mention it, you have to bring it up, or it's never going to be resolved. There's a lot of points in work where I work in a bit of a bubble, and again, we're old school, so people value the social factor of it more than a lot of more modern companies where you don't necessarily have to speak to someone on a person-to-person basis. So being able to communicate exactly what issue you're trying to resolve to people who don't necessarily understand your own body of work is extremely important. I'm sure that goes for when you're trying to explain something to clients as well, in general. Just a really good trait to have is just communication skills.
That's great.
Yeah, that's a fantastic list. I actually agree with all of those. Those are really good points. The only thing I'll add to it is conscientiousness and diligence. I find that a big part of what I do is just holding so many pieces together that I have to make sure I document everything I'm doing, every piece I'm doing. I have just, multiple to-do lists that I keep managed, and this is urgent, this isn't urgent, and I'm constantly sorting it and just trying to run through the stuff. And so, yeah, that's the only piece I'd add to what you guys said, is just staying on top of things, making sure you know what you're staying on top of and prioritizing it and just plowing through it as much as you can.
Lists for everything.
Yes, I have lists of lists and everything.
Lots of lists.
That was one of my next questions, was how do you manage a situation where you have a new job or new opportunity, requires new technology, you've got all these other things going on. How do you do the multitasking? Lists and other ideas?
I'll just jump in. I mean, yeah, what I do is, again, I make the lists and I prioritize them. That's the big thing. You got to figure out what's the most important. And if you don't know, you ask your wife, in my case. Sometimes just hand her the list and like, honey, what do you think is the most important? I can't tell anymore. And she'll be like, it's this. I'm like, thank you. That makes it much easier. I'm very lucky I have a very smart wife that can help me make these decisions and prioritize these things. So a combination of lists and smart significant others, I would recommend.
And also, it's an ongoing process to being good at organizing all of these things. And, some days are much slower than others. Some days you have 5, 6 different clients you have to follow up with, and you have to do your work and all your other normal things. It varies a lot day to day, but staying organized is paramount, super important.
I think it's also important to mention that no matter where you apply for normally, you may feel like you're underqualified almost all the time, honestly. But that's not the end of it. I was underqualified for SBMA in multiple different categories, and once you get the job, the boss is really evaluating your personality and how they will work with other people. That's a large factor of it, next to the other skills that are required. But being able to learn things after you've gotten the job is paramount often. Like that, again, back to that month long of things where I was just thrown into the fire, that sort of thing will almost always apply. You might be underqualified, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't apply, in other words.
Great advice. Do you have anything to add, Amber, there?
I think that covers it. I mean, I would add to that, as a few of us do the hiring as well, that willingness to learn and that drive and that openness is something that we look for, and that we might choose that candidate over somebody else that you might consider on paper looks better. So that's a great trait to have.
Thank you.
Yeah, I want to agree with that. I've hired some people largely based on personality, because I can tell that they're going to be that dedicated, they're that enthusiastic, and they're just going to make it happen. Like, even if they don't have as much experience as someone else, the fact I can tell they're responsive, I can tell they're going to be on top of it, those things matter almost as much as experience in some cases. You got to know the person's going to be there, and they're going to respond, and they're going to take care of it.
Yeah. Great to know the characteristics that are important. Well, these guys are thinking about the question that I'm going to ask them next, which is, Where would you like to be 5 years from now? You could predict. I would like you all to be thinking about what questions you might ask them, because we'll open up some Q&A and we'll bring the mic around for anybody who has questions for the group. So where do you want to be 5 years from now, Preston?
On a beach somewhere, I don't know.
Yes.
You know, entrepreneurship is very unpredictable. A lot of times I live my life not really knowing where I'll be next year. And I think that's okay. I think you kind of have to embrace that with entrepreneurship. I'm reading Jordan Peterson right now. I don't know if anybody knows who that is, but he describes it as exploring darkness. You step into complete darkness and all you can see is right in front of your face. And, you might have a person, a little bit of knowledge and an idea, and you got to use what's in front of you, right in front of your face, to make that next step. And then you're presented with a whole new set of tools or, things that you can use to plan your next one. So really, every day is a new learning process. You're kind of trying to figure out where to go next at all times. So it's really hard for me to say, hopefully I'm running a multi-million-dollar company in 5 years. That'd be great. But
The dream.
who knows? Who knows what will happen? Just be opportunistic, grab at what you can, use what's right in front of you.
Who would like to answer next?
I'll go. In 5 years, I probably don't see myself being at the museum, just because I feel like it is a stepping stone in a longer career path that I'm looking for. I would probably be looking into places such as Dowager Designs, like that sort of thing.
We should
It's all about networking, folks.
As a front-end web developer, mainly in the JavaScript or front-end coding, that sort of thing. Something that's a little more specialized. We even talked about this before the show, like something a little bit more specialized to what I want to do, which is user experience and interaction, working in JavaScript and front-end pages and things like that.
So one thing I do a little differently than other business owners, at all the startups I've worked at, people always write these really detailed business plans. In this quarter we're going to make this much and because of this, and they never ever have been even close to right, and that's been one of the problems. So instead of writing a business plan, I have more of a multi-branching strategy of like, if this happens, I'm going to do that. And if this happens, I'm going to do that. So I treat it more like a game of chess than like a beautiful movie that I've orchestrated for myself where I'm, rich on a yacht in 5 years or something like that. But in larger business goals, the chess plan is to get to a point where this company is doing so well that I can get enough people running it that I can kind of move on to my second company, which is a security tools company. I have some rather patentable ideas I want to pursue. And then beyond that, the idea is to take enough money from that to start making video games, because that's why I got into this when I was 10. Haven't gotten there yet, but still trying to get back to it. And then I have some ambitious machine learning projects I'd want to do after that. And for me, ultimately the goal, and this may be a bit grandiose, is to get to a point where I can actually help the world. I'd like to get to a point where I have technologies that can help the world and enough money that I can actually invest in those technologies and try to make the world a better place. I know, I'm overly grandiose.
I can't follow that, so we're done.
I saw you agreeing with some of the things he was saying.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of us as entrepreneurs too have a lot of different things going at one time, right? Which is that I totally agree on that kind of scenario-based planning. If this happens, then this, and if this, and being open to opportunities, which I think you said too. For me, I love what I do. I want to be doing more of it. I see us continuing to grow. I think there's also a lot of other opportunities that are kind of on the sides now, and we'll see in 5 years what they look like. But I think it's a great field to be in, and I think it's fun to think of what we do will be in 5 years, and that part excites me.
Best plan you can have is no plan. Be flexible.
And I want to be on that beach. Hopefully my phone's not ringing, but I think that the beach sounds pretty good.
It's like a vacation
Yeah, okay.
sometimes. I've had 2 vacations in the last 15 years, so I'd like a third vacation.
Yeah, it evens out. That's all right.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe I should ask you what you like most about your job. Let's do it
All the
for
time
sure.
off?
Let's do that one before we go to questions.
There's a lot of things I like about my job. I love building things of value. I love elegant logic structures. Those are things that have always intrigued me since I was a kid. I love the possibility of being able to make some of these dreams come true. Build these companies, eventually build video games, eventually help the world. All that stuff is great. And one of the things I love the most about this job, and where I love where I'm at right now, and I really like, is something I also loved about City College, was just meeting people, meeting really interesting people that have dreams and ambitions, and getting to know them and getting to kind of sharing those things with them. So I get to do that with our developers. I learn about them and meet them and kind of get into their lives, and I do it with our clients. And I love meeting our clients and figuring out what they want to do and just helping them realize that. I find that really exciting. I recently went to CES, and I just had an amazingly fun time because I just got to go booth to booth and learn about people's dreams. And that was just really exciting for me. So that's something I kind of have missed since being at City College, that I don't have that much interaction with new people to learn about them. And that's something I've been loving about the current position I'm in right
What
now.
is CES?
Oh, Consumer Electronics Show?
Thank you.
There's a lot of things I really do love about my job. I do enjoy that. Honestly, it's kind of it's a double-edged sword having just two people in my department, because I'm expected to do everything web-related, but at the same time, I can control when I'm doing those things, because almost no one else in the museum knows quite what I do in comparison to what they want me to do. So I enjoy the freedom of, being able to organize myself. I do love learning a lot, like new programming concepts and things. Like I continue to love doing that part. I just continue to use Code Academy, if anyone's ever used that before. It's a great learning tool. And I do actually have the freedom at this current job to learn those things while I'm at the job, as in go through the lessons and things when I have, a downturn in actual work, so I can continue to teach myself new concepts as I'm working at this job. So that's probably my favorite part about it.
My favorite part, and probably also my least favorite part, is the control aspect. Being able to do what I please when I please is great, but it is also very difficult. So it is, I like the double-edged sword. I think I'm going to copy you on that. It is a double-edged sword. And it's great to have control over your life and be able to say, you know what, today I don't feel like doing anything. And you know what, you can do that. You can cancel your stuff and you can just do nothing. And awesome, if you have a normal job, you can't do that. But, what's going to stop you from doing that every day? No one, nothing. You're going to stop yourself from doing that every day. So, it's great and it sucks at the same time.
I really like the variety. I probably said that before. Some mornings I'm up at 4, 5, 6 with clients in the UK, going on Skype, GoToMeeting, Zoom, whatever it might be, walking through things. But then in the afternoon, I'm sitting down with a local client. We're a nonprofit here in Santa Barbara where we're donating services, and we're looking at how they're impacting the world with that. And we've gotten to a stage where we can do more of that. Where it's not like, hey, can I, years and years ago, we were like, can I put dinner on the table, or can I do, where now you can do more of that, change the world. I love looking at that. Awesome. It's a lot of fun.
Thank you. We're going to open it up to questions now. So, Vera, if you could stand on that side too, and we'll pass the mic back and forth. You have a question here?
I have a personal question for Will. Just wondering if at some point we kind of share the same ideas about wanting to change the world and also wanting to make video games. So if I could maybe email you through that and get in touch with you.
Yeah, for sure. And anyone that wants to email me, I'd love to talk with you. It's will@tempest.house.
Great. Thanks.
And yeah.
I like that one.
Thank you.
Thank you. I've been doing drop shipping with Facebook ads for about 6 months now, and I had some success with it, and I'm in the process of white labeling my product. But since I'm an immigrant, I have some impediments related to that. One of them is cash flow and credit cards. I'm unable to have credit cards in the US. And so I was thinking, I wanted to hear advice on that, if I should keep on bootstrapping the business or look for investments from people that are able to invest. And if looking for investments, it's the option that you're gonna say it's reliable, where would you go if you were me?
I can take it or you guys can. Sure. So there's a few ways of doing it. For one thing, do you know how much you want to raise?
To order.
Like how much
3,000
money are you
MOQ.
looking to get from an investor? I mean,
Huh?
how much money are you looking to get from an investor?
Well, now in terms of revenue, I've generated 90,000
Oh,
in
nice.
6 months.
That's great.
With like 18% profit margins. But the thing is that I have the data from the Pixel, the Facebook Pixel. So this is what it's gonna be able to. This is what I have to offer to the investor.
Right.
It's the data and it's the product. It's my website, and I can design a Shopify store. So it wouldn't be necessarily in terms of money. It would be more in terms of like legalize the business, because I'm not doing it with my visa, my personal.
Gotcha.
Like, otherwise, I'll probably be deported. But I'm doing with the EIN because I have like to create as a business.
Gotcha.
So it would be more like to legalize the business and do taxes and all of that.
That's a bit unique. People that generally come to me asking how do I get investment are asking because they need money. So this is
It's more of a mentoring, I'd say.
Yeah, no, you're in a nice spot where you don't actually need money. That's where you want to be. You don't have to give a lot of your company away because you're already profitable. So you're in a good spot. That's great. You just, unfortunately, I also have less advice because I've never met anyone that had that exact question. But you just need to find someone that wants to take a chunk of the company in exchange for giving it, the full legal status here in the U.S. Yeah. Yeah, all you need is a partner. I mean, does anyone in the room want to be his partner? That's all you need. See, you got one right there. You just need someone in the U.S. to be your partner, and it sounds like you're done. So I would just recommend you two talk.
Yeah, when you said Facebook ads, I thought maybe you were thinking investment money for scaling, but there's not a whole lot of scaling you can do with Facebook ads unless you're just expanding across a ton of different products. That is a unique situation you're in.
In terms of ad spend, the max that I did was $2K a day for this product, but money would be great, of course, so that I don't have to put all my money like into that. But the main thing would be like to connect with people, because Santa Barbara is a small town. There aren't many. I'd like to believe that there are people who could help me in terms of strategy, understanding, long term. But for now, I haven't found any. So it would be like a little bit of both.
Sure. Well, if you need money, it sounds like you don't need much money. One kind of creative and fun thing you do these days is just do a Kickstarter. You don't have to give any of your company away. You just have to give the people that are paying money something cool, like a name on your website or some kind of T-shirt or something. It's kind of crazy to me. People are willing to give you money for just a little bit of prestige or a little bit of memorabilia. So if you need just a little bit of money, that's a really easy way to go. If you need more money, we have a partner in our company that helps people like you find investors. So if you have an investor deck, I'm happy to pass it on to our partner if you're looking for money. All of his investments come from out of the country, though. Most of his people are in Dubai and in India. So it wouldn't help you find a U.S. partner, this particular partner of ours. But I like to pass on interesting projects to him. And the fact you actually have a revenue positive company is a rare thing for someone looking for investment in my experience. So it shouldn't be too hard to find you someone that wants to give you some money.
But to be honest with you, I have some problems though, like PayPal holds and all of that.
Sorry?
So a part of the money that I made is still like on PayPal, like 13,000. So yeah, that's that.
Sorry, I didn't follow that part.
No, I'm just saying that it's profitable, but the fact that I had some impediments, it wouldn't necessarily mean that I have the cash flow necessary to keep on running.
Oh, I see. So you probably do need a little bit more money too. Well, yeah, I'd recommend considering Kickstarter, and if not, I mean, feel free to reach out to me. And do you have an investor deck yet?
Sorry.
Do you have an investor deck, something you can show investors, like a slideshow that says, "Hey"?
I have the website and the data. I
That
can
helps.
pull out the data from Shopify.
A lot of investors, we find they actually want a deck that kind of spells it out. That has the slides and say, here's who we are, and here's why we're different, and here's our current amount of revenue. Here's our projections, all that kind of stuff. The stuff that I was talking about, those business plans that never pan out. You kind of need those for investors, though. That's the reason to make those business plans, is to explain to someone else that you've seen the movie in your head of how this is going to go.
There are even some good deck templates online if you want to
nice.
go that route. Just look at some decks, and there are even like vector templates and things like that. Even though I'm sure you could design your own cooler thing, but if you want to start somewhere,
Actually,
check those out.
I'd love it if you could share those with me too, and
yeah,
maybe
no.
everybody, because I need those for clients that keep coming to me and don't have an investor deck. We generally either put one of our UI UX designers on it, have it be their thing, but a lot of them are like too early to pay for that.
Yeah.
So any templates you have, I'd love to
sure.
see, and I bet some people here might be interested in that too.
Absolutely.
Okay, I think we have time for one more question before we have our last person come up.
Thank
We
you.
have 3 questions here. Okay, let's make them quick.
It's a relief to know that skills that aren't the only thing that you're looking for when you're hiring, but what are some of the skills for front-end web development or API development, user development, or web design, front-end web design, things like that? Because it seems like HTML and CSS are outdated, but maybe not.
I feel like I'm hogging it. Do you guys want to go, or should I?
I would not go anywhere near saying that HTML and CSS are outdated as far as websites are concerned, because they are basically the base form of a website. They are the foundation that you work on. Without CSS, you wouldn't have styling for a website. Without HTML, you wouldn't have basically a basic structure of design. I can't speak to what people would look for in that area, but I do know that websites definitely still require HTML. There's just a few newer tweaks that actually make web design a little bit more accessible for people like graphic designers. There's a new tag system that HTML5 has and things like that that make it a little bit more English language. But other than that, they still are the base foundation of a web page. Unless you are working in an already built format, which you're still going to be working in HTML and CSS. Like if you're using something like Drupal or WordPress, you're still working in a little bit of HTML and a little bit of CSS, but there's also built-in templates and things, which I tend to always shy away from built-in templates myself. I don't generally like them, but they're there for accessibility.
So I've been looking for a job, and I was just wondering, what are some things I could do to get my foot in the door?
In what field?
Web design.
Web design.
I think we talked a little bit about skills right now. I think portfolio is always one, right? And I know that can be a catch-22 if you're coming out of school potentially, because you need experience in order to build that portfolio. But here people are looking for a portfolio in order to help you get that experience. But I think then what you can do here in classes and the portfolios you can build as part of your courses, that for me totally counts. I think that combined with that willingness to learn we talked about, and talking a little bit about what you have done in courses. So I think I'm always a fan of also acknowledging, hey, this was a class project and look what I did with it, and this is something else that I took over from. Did you do the design? Did you do the design and the development? Did you do the full development? The more specifics you can give me, the better, because I know you're serious about it. I think then as far as foot in the door, probably networking, being here, talking to us is a big piece of it. Internships, a big piece of it. There definitely are those opportunities where you send the resume, but there are also the getting to know people pieces of it.
That's the main way people get jobs
Yeah.
I'll jump in a little bit too on that and kind of also answer your question a bit as well. The biggest skills that we find they're in demand right now, especially for front end, are Angular and React. Those are the two things people are always looking for from us. Vue seems like it's catching up a little bit. Vue.js, but those are the two main things people ask for. Of course, CSS is also a must, less than Sass, CSS if you're doing front end. And then if you diversify and go ahead and learn Express on the back end, we get a lot of requests for that. In terms of CMSs, if you're going to get a job making websites, the big one we seem to find is WordPress. We get a lot of demand for WordPress. But we also get demand for Pimcore and oddly a fair amount of Drupal. I didn't know how popular Drupal was, but we keep on hearing people want Drupal. Just as core skills. And then, what you said, networking is crazy important. I've actually never had a job interview in my life because I just know people and I just show up and they give me a job. So networking is the most important thing for getting a job. Also, one thing I personally like to look for, and not everyone thinks of this, but I personally love an open source project. If you've done some coding, I like to look at your code and go, hey, they made this cool open source thing. I can see how they wrote it. I can see how they think. And for me, it's a big thing, that and work samples.
Awesome. Thank you. I think with that, we're going to close the live stream portion. Now we're going to bring up our other guest here who was not able to be live streamed and filmed because of the confidentiality of the work that he does. And we will have time afterwards for you to ask questions of John here, but then also I think some of the folks here will be able to stick around a little bit, so you'll be able to come and ask individual questions as well. So sorry I had to cut that a little bit short. But we have John Reed here from Yardi Systems.